From the 2011 Tohoku tsunami that swallowed Japan's largest seawalls whole, and the 1998 Hurricane Mitch that didn't need landfall to kill 11,000 people, to the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami that crossed 3 continents with no warning at all, here are 6 of the deadliest disasters ever recorded. A magnitude 7.0 earthquake. San Francisco felt the same strength in 1989 and lost 63 people. The earthquake did not make that difference. History did. Port-au-Prince, Haiti, January 12, 2010, 4:53 in the afternoon. The capital city, home to a quarter of Haiti's entire population, was in the middle of an ordinary day. A fault line between the Caribbean and North American tectonic plates, one that had been building stress for 250 years, finally ruptured. The epicenter struck just 25 kilometers from Port-au-Prince and only 10 kilometers below the surface, dangerously shallow. For 30 seconds, the ground moved. When it stopped, an entire city had collapsed, block after block of collapsed concrete. Buildings pancaked completely flat, hospitals gone, schools gone, the National Palace destroyed, streets impassable, a city reduced to rubble in half a minute. Haiti defied the world in 1804. It became the first nation founded by a successful slave revolt, and the world made it pay. France forced Haiti to pay reparations for the loss of its enslaved people. By 1900, 80% of Haiti's entire GDP was being spent on that debt alone. They didn't finish paying it until 1947. The United States refused to recognize Haiti for 58 years, then invaded and occupied it from 1915 to 1934. Decades of corrupt dictatorship followed. The result was the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and poverty meant buildings with no engineering, no foundations, no architects, cheap cement stacked on steep hillsides, home to people living on under $2 a day. When the ground moved, the buildings did not flex. They disintegrated. Up to 316,000 people were killed, 250,000 homes destroyed, 30,000 commercial buildings collapsed, 60% of hospitals and 80% of schools were gone. 1.5 million people were left homeless. The damage totaled $8.5 billion, roughly 75% of Haiti's entire GDP. A cholera outbreak introduced by UN peacekeepers followed and killed thousands more. Over $13 billion in international aid has been delivered since. The rebuilding continues to this day. July 28, 1976, Tangshan, China, 3:42 in the morning. Everyone was asleep. Without any warning, a massive 7.5 magnitude earthquake tore through the city. Tangshan was a busy mining city, packed tightly with homes, factories, and coal mines, and in seconds, nearly 80% of it was gone. Buildings did not just crack, they collapsed completely. Streets split wide open, water lines burst underground, multi-story factories fell straight down, with entire night crews still inside. Survivors said the ground moved like ocean waves, homes folded like pieces of paper, and then silence. No phones, no radio, no communication at all. The outside world had no idea what had just happened. For hours, Tangshan was completely cut off from the rest of China. This is what was left of Tangshan after the quake. Block after block, nothing but rubble and dust. Rescue teams are digging through collapsed walls with their bare hands, listening for any faint sound from beneath. Some survivors were pulled out days later, still alive, found under slabs of concrete they had crawled beneath for cover. Tangshan sits on soft, unstable soil. Soft ground shakes far harder than solid rock. The buildings were old brick structures with no earthquake protection at all. When the ground moved, they simply had no chance. The government officially reported 242,000 deaths, but unofficial estimates go as high as 700,000. To understand what that means, imagine an entire city the size of a major metropolitan area simply ceasing to exist between one breath and the next. Entire families, grandparents, parents, and children gone in seconds. No warning, no goodbye. Japan was the most prepared country on Earth for exactly this. It built walls, it ran drills, it monitored every fault, and the wave still came. Northern Japan, March 11th, 2011, 2:46 in the afternoon. A magnitude 9.0 earthquake, the largest ever recorded in Japan and one of the 5 largest in world history, struck 80 miles offshore in the Pacific Ocean. Tsunami warnings went out immediately. People who had drilled for this their entire lives ran for high ground. From rooftops and hillsides they watched. A black wall of water carrying cars, boats, and the wreckage of entire neighborhoods surged miles inland without slowing. Seawalls that took decades to build were topped in seconds. In one coastal city, the world's deepest and largest seawall, 18 feet tall, was simply swallowed. Water advancing through city streets like a slow, unstoppable flood. Vehicles spinning in current, buildings collapsing under the pressure. Ships carried miles inland and left sitting in fields. The sound alone is unlike anything you have ever heard. The Pacific tectonic plate had been grinding beneath the North American plate for centuries. On March 11th, that stress snapped. In deep ocean, the waves traveled at 500 miles per hour, invisible, barely a few feet high. But as they entered shallow coastal waters, the seafloor forced all that energy upward. What had been an invisible ripple became a wall of water, the height of a building. More than 28,000 people were confirmed dead or missing. Entire coastal towns were wiped from the map. The disaster triggered the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear meltdown, the worst nuclear accident since Chernobyl. Japan's 1,200 GPS monitoring stations captured ground displacement moving at 5 miles per second, producing the most detailed earthquake data ever recorded. That data has since been used to build warning systems that will protect millions of lives in the future. A volcano erupted 50 kilometers away. The town felt nothing. 2 hours later, 24,000 people were dead. Armero, Colombia, November the 13th, 1985. Most of the 23,000 residents were asleep. Local radio had told them to stay calm just hours before. Nevado del Ruiz volcano erupted and melted 10% of its ice cap. Millions of gallons of water mixed with mud, rock, and ash, and came pouring down the mountain as lahars. Thick rivers of debris with the consistency of wet concrete, moving fast and silent, straight toward Armero. Rooftops barely visible above the surface. 85% of an entire town buried in 2 hours. Geologists had been warning about this volcano since 1984. Hazard maps were drawn showing Armero was in a high danger zone. Officials delayed. Radio stations told residents to stay calm. The mayor himself said he saw no danger. Minutes later, the mud hit, and he was killed. The warnings existed. The action did not. A 30-foot wall of mud crashed into Armero at 11:30 p.m., pouring through doors and windows, burying people in their beds. The mud flowed for 2 hours without stopping. Rescuers could not reach the town for 12 hours. Every road and bridge had been destroyed. When they arrived, they had almost no equipment. Many used only their bare hands. Armero was never rebuilt. It remains buried under hardened mud to this day. The day after Christmas, 14 countries, 230,000 people dead, and not a single warning sent to any of them. Off the western coast of Sumatra, Indonesia, December 26, 2004, 7:58 in the morning. Resorts were full. Coastal villages across the Indian Ocean were beginning what looked like an ordinary morning. The Indian tectonic plate had been sliding beneath the Burma plate for centuries, building pressure, locking together, waiting. At 7:58 a.m., it all released at once. The rupture tore through 1,300 kilometers of seafloor, one of the longest fault breaks ever recorded. The earthquake registered between 9.1 and 9.3 and shook for nearly 10 minutes. The seafloor rose by more than 10 meters in some areas, displacing billions of tons of water in every direction at 500 miles per hour. In Thailand, people are standing on the beach watching the ocean pull back, exposing reefs and seabed that have never been seen before. Some are walking toward it, curious. Minutes later, the water comes back. The Pacific Ocean had tsunami warning infrastructure for decades. The Indian Ocean had none, not a single coordinated alert, no sirens. Seismologists detected the earthquake within minutes, but there was no system to turn that information into a public warning across 14 countries. Sri Lanka, India, and the coast of East Africa had hours. No warning reached any of them. When the ocean pulled back first, exposing the seafloor, few people recognized it as the warning sign it was. In Thailand, crowds walked toward the exposed seabed, fascinated, and the first wave was not always the largest. Survivors who escaped the initial surge and returned to the coast believing it was over were killed by the waves that followed. More than 230,000 people were killed across 14 countries, the deadliest tsunami in recorded human history. Indonesia lost an estimated 170,000 people, most within the first hour. In Sri Lanka, a passenger train called the Queen of the Sea was struck by the waves. More than 1,700 people aboard were killed, making it one of the deadliest rail disasters in history. Waves reached 2 miles inland and traveled over 3,000 miles to the coast of East Africa. The earthquake was so powerful, it shortened the length of a day by a fraction of a millisecond. The disaster led directly to the creation of the Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning System, now linking dozens of countries through seismic sensors, ocean buoys, and coordinated alerts. The world built it just too late for 230,000 people. It never needed to make landfall. It just stopped moving. And then it rained for 5 days straight. Honduras and Nicaragua, with severe impact across Guatemala and El Salvador. Late October into early November 1998, Hurricane Mitch formed in the Western Caribbean, strengthened over unusually warm water, and reached Category 5 with winds near 180 miles per hour. Then it did something far more deadly than making landfall. It stalled. The atmospheric steering winds that normally push hurricanes forward simply gave out. Mitch sat offshore, barely moving, rotating slowly, pulling moisture from the warm Caribbean and dumping it over the same mountains again and again. For 5 days, the rain did not stop. Rivers climbed past every known level. Hillsides absorbed water until the soil itself gave up. And then the mountains started to move, rivers that have completely left their banks, roads buried under feet of mud, entire hillsides sliding. Rescuers arriving to find nothing left but a gray surface where communities used to be. Much of Central America had been heavily deforested for farming and fuel over the preceding decades. Tree roots hold soil on slopes. Without them, the ground was fragile. When the rain came, there was nothing anchoring the earth. Hillsides collapsed and sent walls of mud through villages with no warning at all. A massive landslide swept through entire communities below, burying thousands of people in seconds. Central America had survived bad storms before. People made the most rational decision they could with the information they had been given. They stayed. More than 11,000 people were confirmed dead across Central America. Thousands more were never found. Millions were displaced. Rivers permanently changed course. Every harvest was destroyed. Food shortages lasted years and economic damage stretched into decades. Mass migration followed as people searched for safety and work somewhere else. Rescuers moving through what used to be towns, gray mud from one end of the frame to the other. Everything else gone. Mitch proved permanently that wind speed is not a hurricane's most dangerous number. Rainfall is. That understanding, paid for with 11,000 lives, now shapes how storms are communicated to the public around the world. The Earth did what it always does. It shook, it erupted, it flooded. That was never the surprise. What mattered was everything around it, where people lived, what warnings were given, or ignored? Who had protection and who didn't? Again and again, the pattern repeats. Not just nature, but decisions, because disasters aren't only acts of Earth. The outcomes are shaped long before they happen. Subscribe for more stories like this.